So did anybody come in today with a visual? You did. Thank you. Cool. Yanowski. Kulagowski.
Yeah.
Yes. You can email it to me or thumb drive it to me or.
Do you want me to? It's just like, you just want me to send you the pictures?
Keep it in your Excel? No.
No, I just like downloaded actual pictures
Of what?
of the crafts that I made.
You put them in a Word document.
export it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
What's your email? D.E. Scott?
DERSCOTT. So in the last class, we made a couple of pie charts. Did anybody explore the pie charts? No. So we've been doing this same piece of data for 2 weeks, going on to 3 weeks by this Sunday. And how much of those 2 to 3 weeks did you spend doing this so far? That's the sound of a cricket riding on a tumbleweed. A cricket surfing a tumbleweed. Can you just imagine that? Did you email me?
I did, I think.
Madeline Kulagowski. Okay. Kulagowski. How do we make this bigger? Full screen maybe? Not doing so much.
Yeah, it doesn't look like very good. Like even in my Word file, like it's kind of blurry. But
Yeah.
it's a pie chart.
When you exported it, perhaps it could have been at a higher.
Resolution?
Yeah. Let me download this one. Now, let me download this. And how can I make this bigger? Now, what did you do here, Kulagowski?
Well, I just was kind of figuring what I wanted to look at. So I looked at the counties with the highest percentage of no diplomas and like found the whatever percentage we got, and then I looked at the counties with the highest percentage of black subdivisions. Okay. Oh yeah, because they're not counties. The subdivisions with the highest percentage of black population, Hispanic population, and the highest percentage of subdivisions with Hispanic population in poverty and black population in poverty.
Okay. One thing is when you make a pie chart, you have 12 different pies, and it's got to be slices in this pie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of colors without a lot of color variation. Did you? And another thing, when you make it a pie chart, you have to. Well, it's not that you have to, but pie charts. If you're gonna have 12 different different slices, one of them needs to really dominate.
Mhm.
And one of yours in this one does dominate.
But not in the other ones.
Well, and I'm assuming is that Gould's or is that Gardens? It's probably Miami Gardens.
I think it is Miami Gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Miami Gardens.
So, but that is just the highest percent. That's not out of 100, is it? Did you take the total black population? Like when you do a pie chart, the slice it like these are percentages of 100%. So, did you just take the percentage of the places that have the highest black population, or did you take the total population of Miami that's black and then divide and then find out which percent they live in? This was the thing of one of the challenges of taking this data and you now figuring out what you want to make a percentage of is, well, what do you know what you're saying when you want to make a percentage of something? Are we saying so like within there's a lot of different ways of saying something. So like the diplomas, is there a relationship, is there an inequality in Miami amongst say the black population that is poor, the black population that's poor without say the no diplomas amongst the poor black population, or is the no diplomas bigger? Hold on, let me reword that one more time. Say the no diplomas, the population with no diplomas in Miami, is that chunk bigger? Is there going to be a greater percentage that's black versus if you look at the black population with no diploma, is that number bigger? Is it? I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, I think that like having the black population with no diploma would be helpful, but that's just not in the data that we were given, so I wasn't sure like how to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, we might. Okay, but like what I'm saying is, depending, you need to be sure of what you're saying in there, so that like I gave this example. I think even in the examples on the downloadable thing of like is the percentage of Latins, the poverty percent of Latins out of the Latin population versus the poverty of Latins out of the Miami population. You're saying very different things when you look at when you just change it from the percentage of Latins in poverty as a percentage of Latin American in Miami versus as a percentage of Miami as a whole. You're seeing very different things when you do that. So if we're finding, and one of the things we actually found just looking at the data, doing a simple line graph of it, was that there's not really that big of a, the Miami as a whole, the black population is, it was like 18 or 19% of Miami is black, and the percent of Miami that's in the black population that's in poverty was like 20%. So it's not like it's huge discrepancy. Actually, I think it was like 25. And that's what made us look at Homestead, because Homestead stuck out. Because even like when you look at this, Miami Gardens has a huge percentage of the low-income population, of the black population. But even there, the poverty within Miami Gardens was like, it wasn't that much greater than just what you would expect across the whole of the city. It kind of stays true across everywhere. Like the same percentage of the black population that's in poverty is basically the same everywhere. It's not as if someplace in Miami, when we're looking at this, we want to see, is there someplace in Miami that is it better to be poor and black in one, or to be black in one place versus another? Is there like a concentration of black poverty somewhere? Is there, where?
In Key Biscayne, it was like 100%.
But that's
Right, but that was only like 4 people.
Outlier.
There was only like 4 black people there, something, literally.
45.
40, is that what it was?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's farther down.
Is that somewhere in here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It was tiny. So even that, like, like when you say it, so like you might see it and be like, "Holy cow! 100% of the people in Key Biscayne are 100% of the black population in Key Biscayne are below poverty." Well, that's not exactly a true case because there's literally 44 out of I think there was 12,000 people in Key Biscayne, and Miami has a total black population of like I don't know something like 500,000 people are black in Miami. So we need to look into that before we start saying demographic things about the population. We ought to. So it's better to like shoot for simple things that you know are gonna like. I'll demonstrate how to make just a simple pie chart. So like a simple thing. If we're gonna make 5 different ways of visualizing this data, one simple one would just be a breakdown to show just how to make the 2 pie charts I did last class of like what percentage of Miami is Latin, black, and white. What percentage of Miami is below the poverty, Latin, black, and white, and just see, well, these are the numbers we're kind of working with. And when we did that, it would seem like the Latin stayed the same, and just there was a little bit more, like the black took some of the white. Let's do it again. Before I bore everybody on here, can we pause this and take it up right where we left off? Let's do that. How many people in here are sociology? So to make a good pie chart, what I'm going to do is just add up the totals. Why is this control there? So I highlighted like total population, and I'm going to sum it, auto sum it. From there, I'm gonna sum all of these numbers. Then I am so to know the Latin is this one divided by this one. Boom. Right. Latin poverty is this one divided by this one. So Miami 65% Latin, 65.6% Latin, 64.7 of the poverty is amongst the Latin population. This one. This one. Times 100. So in this step, I have found the percentage of Latin in black, and then the poverty that is Latin in black. And I've summarized them into this new row at the bottom, which is the totals for Miami. So, as a percent, we can then just add a white, black, Latin, other. Miami is 1% other. Latin is 65.7. Black is 18.5. What is 18.5 and 65.7? Huh? This is in math class?
No, I tried too much math, but I'm joking.
Is that 83.2? No, 84.2.
Yeah, 84.2.
84.2, 85.2, 14.8% white. So if we just select those ones right there, and I'm giving you that 1% is of Miami is other, and then we just make this little boom. Why can I not make this thing be how I want it to be?
Gotta go for the first comma, you start typing. Type again.
Beautiful. So if we took that information, made a nice pie chart that showed just how Miami is broken down. 27.3, 64.7. Ooh, that's easy to add up, huh? Is that 92? Right? 93, so just a 7 right there. Insert pie chart. So if you made this as your first visual, then we could make 3 easy bullet points about these two visuals. This is not 2 separate visuals, though. I mean, I know it seems like it's 2 pie charts, but they interact with each other. This is just one visualization. So what are 3 things that we could say about this? I said 3 things for each visual, I think, right? Anybody? Yes. Give or take. Probably. Well, I'm saying it now. Well, Miami is a majority Latin. The Latin population basically stays the same when it comes to as a percentage of the total population and as a percentage of the poverty. And it seems as if the black population just eats into the white population when it comes to the poverty. So the white population was like 14% maybe, right? Almost 15% of Miami, but then the white poverty is only 7%. So it gets chopped in half. So within there is, we just told the story of white and black and Latin as a percentage and as the percentage of the poverty of Miami. And certainly you could say, because you took that whole class and learned everything from all of your other classes, and that one class was the most useful one you ever took, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, so right there, we could probably be able to say 3 bullet points about this, what's happening right here. No? Now the bullet point, because you don't want to spend, if we had to fluff this into a page, I mean, there's probably a whole book written about white, black, and Latin poverty and demographic change in Miami. But all they really needed was these 2 pie charts and then 3 bullet points, right? They didn't need to write the whole book. You can fluff your way through the whole thing, but really what you just wanted to say was this right here, is that as a percentage, the Latin population stays the same as it comes to the total demographics and it comes to the poverty, and the black population increases and just kind of replaces the white poverty as a percent. Well, what is something else we would like to do with all of this good stuff in data? Well, I think some of you said when we wanted to find out, well, what is happening here, like, where is that? It's only 7% about of Miami that is below the white and below the poverty line. And I think everybody in here started chanting and screaming about Homestead. Remember, I think, right? You know what you guys said?
Yeah. It's mostly Brennan.
Yeah, it was mostly Brennan. So we started to look into it. It turns out, no, not true. So what would we do to find that out? Well, we can look over here.
Recording.
Yeah, keep recording.
You told me to not record this one because we already did this last class.
I know, but nobody was paying attention. And there's
Okay.
as a percentage.
All right, it already is.
As a percentage, I think about all the like about 70% of the people are not here because I sent that email saying I'll record it. So they said, "Oh, good, then I could just have class from my home when I feel like, and I can fast forward through all of the anecdotes Derek says. There's really important stuff that might help me in life because we're not learning about making visuals. We're learning about life in here." So, where were we at?
He was saying the homestead.
Right. No, I said it's not in Homestead because look at here, right here. Let me label this a little bit better. In fact, let me maybe put poverty. You know what's good? Let's add, all right. This is black poverty. This is black population. Let's just add this plus this, right? Equals. So we want all the places where it's, so if the white poverty is about 7% as a whole, where is it above and below? Well, that is, the total for Miami is exactly what it should be. Southwest, what's that say?
Southwest Ranges.
West side.
Oh,
Southwest side. That's the rich, like, that means, what's that place called? Where people have, like, horse stables and, like, Redlands?
Friends?
That's, like, where people got rich. That's where people with money. You see, that drops down to, like, barely any. Princeton and Goulds, that's up to about 10%. So, like, maybe there. Northwest side, no. Miami Gardens, no. When you add up the black poverty and the Latin poverty, that is 99.9% of Miami Gardens. The beach, 32%. All of a sudden, and the black poverty shoots way down. So you as a social scientist, why did the black poverty shoot way down at the beach? Take a risk. Neither me nor the black fellow who's even bigger than me in the back of the room will say anything if you start talking about black people at the beach.
Because the black people that live on the beach are rich.
Probably, thank you, Jack. Like the black population is tiny at the beach, but if there is black people at the beach, they're not going to the beach to be poor. Probably. It warrants more investigation if you were interested in that, because this is just some very general census data, but we can know a little bit because we're social scientists, and we can probably say that that's what happened. If it shoots down that far to where Miami is 27, the poverty in Miami is 27% black, but at the beach is only 7%, and the white poverty is now going up into 32, where in general it's 7%. That's a huge switcheroo.
Lots of people trying to live where they can't really live,
What is this one? Key Biscayne. There's a few poor white people there. Kendall and the Everglades, but the Everglades is literally the Everglades. There's nobody in there. The total is 5,000 people. So, if we wanted to find out more that's going on, let's get rid of, so it really be, you could say, like, even like in Key Biscayne, there's not that many people there. And though it is a large white population, but it's the beach. Beach has 133,000 people. And the white poverty population, that's where a lot of them are. A few just barely above average there, but the places with a large above average are Biscayne, but that's like barely anybody in Miami Beach. That's what's making up for the huge population of the white low-income population. Might we want to visualize this? What would we do to visualize this, you think? What would be a good idea? Another pie chart. But let's do some other pie. Like some people made see, this would be a good one actually when you let me think what would be. I was going to say when you have the bar graphs and the bars are right next to each other and make them really big, and then like what if we see 12 areas though as a percent, though it might show up good. What is this one? This is white and black together. If we subtracted that from 100, we would say what the white poverty is. The bar graphs where they're right next to each other, like white, black, and Latin here, white, black, and Latin, and then all of a sudden they'll just shoot right way up for the white one. If the white one is down as a total of what is happening, and all of a sudden it shoots way up. You know what I'm talking about? Let's put this on pause for 1 second. How do I do that? I just push the red button,
Yes.
and it'll pause it? Oh. So everybody's clear of what I did? I made a bit of an estimate where I didn't include that 1% other. But, I mean, you can just write that included in the white population perhaps is 1% of the total of Miami is other than white, black, and Latin. So we could just, in saying so, we could just be saying the overwhelming majority of this other is white, and Miami is dominated by black and Latin. Black and Latin add up to, for the most part, 85% of Miami.
Would you put that in the methods, or would you
Yes.
put that?
If that, like, if we just, we it's a huge thing to be, I gave you the data, and I didn't get the white population when I did it, but I looked through the data enough to know it is less than 1%. Demographics. Damn it. Well, that's.
Is there also like different subdivisions that we should be looking out for? Like, is the Everglades? I don't know where many of the reservations are.
There's only one really. We're not like the Everglades is 5,000 people of 2.5 million. Really up to like 3 million now. Is 550. It's 0.1% of Dade County. All right. So according to Wikipedia's copy paste of census, people hate Wikipedia, but at the same time, like for certain things, they're not like trying. They're just copy pasting.
Yeah,
Okay.
for certain things you can't really go wrong with.
Yeah. So just to get a quick answer, rather than trying to go through Fact Finder right now.
Productivity would be way down as Wikipedia.
Yeah. All right. They're including the white Hispanic, but non-Hispanic whites comprise less than
Less than 12.
is 12% of the population. So it's even less than it was. So 12 plus 70 is 82, and then the black population. So 1% is Asian. How about that? 1% is Asian. So they're having a hard time. Ouch. So because sometimes they say white, including white Hispanic, and they're including Miami. Are we in Dade or in the county? Shit, see, I want to be in the county anyway. All right, this is 2010. That's the one we're looking at. White is 15.4. Asian is 1.5. 17.4 and 17.1 and 15.5 is 32.5 plus 65. Right. So we are fine saying about 1% are not white, black, or Latin. So we are looking at poverty. Poverty. And then insert, ooh, what is this one? Oh, that looks crazy. I think we should be like this one for it. This goes by the areas. The gray is the white poverty. And there's just a couple places, especially like if we could just not think about the Everglades, should actually just exclude them because it is like we saw literally the Everglades. But Key Biscayne and Miami Beach is where low-income white people really live. The other thing of what these areas are, when we look at Fact Finder, this could even be a visual that you include in it. County subdivisions. Florida, Miami-Dade. $2,014. Poverty. And then we make a map of it. It's saying click on data to include. Where is the percentage? This one. So this, is this thing labeled? They're not all labeled. Why are they not all labeled? The Everglades is literally the Everglades. This is not a bad visual to include in it. I think we can download it like this. JPEG. So this is not a bad visual right here, but again, we still haven't even gotten to the no diploma inclusion in it. This is not a bad visual to include, but again, we still haven't, damn, we got all of that though. How, if I zoom in, no, it's not good. Why did it get all of Florida when I made that map? Well, a lot of you are probably better at just like cropping just that part in there. I don't even know what program I'm using. But we still did not even look at the no diploma as it relates. So no diplomas percent out of, is there a relationship then between the poverty demographic, like poverty by race, and no diplomas? So it's all like kind of culminating to. So let's say you use 2 of these 3 visuals I just showed you what to do for, and do the other ones and include the no diplomas in there. You guys are so quiet. You're boring me. I keep like, I feel like I'm saying the same thing to myself because I'm wondering, am I could be a little ADD. Did I say that right? Am I going around in circles? Because there's no response from anyone out there. People watching the video might think I'm just like in a room by myself. They don't know there's like 100 people in this room right now.
100 is a
There
little.
could be. 100 quiet people.
So you wouldn't relate any of like the race or poverty data directly to the no diploma?
No, I'm saying you should. I'm
Yeah.
saying we are to start off with a good beginning to just know where we are is this to this. David, move this one out the way. You go over. What? This one was poverty. This one was total demographics. This is just understand what Miami is. Might be a good starting point. Or even, and these are kind of like the same one right here, this one. So I'd even say these are not necessarily very different visuals. I'd almost say if you were going to use these, this might all end up being one visualization package to explain poverty and demographics in Miami.
So could we do something like add up all the percentage, kind of like what we did with the, I don't know, like add up all the total no diploma and see what subdivisions have like the highest? Well,
Yeah.
we already know what have the highest.
Well, we would probably want to do that one. I think that was one of my examples in the PDFs that you download.
Okay.
Was it? I think so. No? Yeah, so like look at those subdivisions where the percentage is going up, and is it the poverty going up? I think that was the first one we did actually, and we saw yeah, it kind of stays the same, but you see in Homestead it just shoots way up. Black poverty and no diploma was skyrocketing there. And I think we said, well, that could be a visual, and you could say a thing or two about that. And we look at the data to find anything else that might be happening. Oh no, I think what we did, we looked at the demographics of Miami and no diploma. We saw the black one went up. There was a huge relationship between the black population and no diploma, where it just really stood out from the rest. And so then perhaps, I think that's what even started us looking at, like, well, where is the poverty as it relates to their, and then we started talking about housing and whether perhaps the black population with limited options, the seeming option for that population with limited options is to move to Homestead. Not where too much else to go. I think they were moving, the population who couldn't afford Miami any longer were moving north, but even that got expensive. Crossing the border is expensive. I mean, you kind of got to just leave the area. Miami used to be a lot whiter and a lot blacker. And now I think it's 70% Latin. That Wikipedia page had 2010 data on it. I think we're going to be in for quite a surprise in 2020 when their estimates are. They think it's just been the same pace of growth, but I think it's been a much faster pace of Latin growth. But even more than that is a black fleeing, the black population getting out, and they don't have much option, and they're just getting out of here in total. They're going to, if they stay in Florida, they go into the Fort Myers or Orlando, but more than not, they're going to Georgia. They're just getting out of Florida. So as that black population decreases, so if there's a Latin influx, and we'll see that with huge populations coming from Venezuela, Peru, and oddly, did you know there's more Cubans who came now than came 1960 and 1980 in the 60s and 80s? It's more since 2005.
Yeah, it's because in the 60s and 80s, the people with money came, which
Right.
it wasn't
Well,
really
no, not in the
to
80s.
begin with. Not that.
I saw that movie.
Yeah, but that was before that, it was mostly just the ones that had money.
Yeah, the people with money came
now
originally.
Everybody and everyone's basically broke and poor,
Yeah.
so everyone's coming.
But there was a change that happened specifically in 04 or something like that, where you could actually sell your house and leave with cash in Cuba.
Yeah, they've been changing the laws to
Right.
let people leave. Before it was a lot more difficult to leave.
Right,
So
or
that's
if
why
you
only
did,
rich
you'd be coming
people
here
would
with
leave.
nothing, but at least you could come and you'd be granted asylum in America. Now, you can actually come with money. That's why there's more people since 2000. I looked at the Homeland Security's, what do you call it when you allow people in versus naturalization? Immigration and naturalization data. I couldn't believe it shot up. I just assumed, I'm not from here and I'm also not Latin. And I saw one movie, and it was Scarface. One movie about Cuba and Cubans in Miami. How about that? Yeah, I think we're done.